So 38 participants. कतिजना हुनुपर्ने 70?
Sir, 76 हो total चाहिँ students.
50% भयो त 39. So 2 more minutes. मेरो आवाज सुनिन्छ राम्रोसँग?
Yes, sir. सुनिन्छ.
Okay, good evening, dear students. Today we shall be discussing on a very important topic, that is long abscess. So when you go and see the medical ward and medicine OPD, you frequently come across with condition like long abscess. So you have to know the basics, the pathophysiology, the microorganisms, investigations, and basic treatment of long abscess. मेरा आवाज राम्रोसँग सुनिरहेछ है?
सुनिरहेको sir.
Yes, sir.
So what do you understand by abscess? Abscess is basically a localized or necroinflammation in any part of your body, as simple as that. हैन? कुनै पनि soft tissue को localized inflammation forming a pus is known as long abscess. Is known as abscess. So if that necroinflammation is there in your long parenchyma, then you will have long abscess. Next thing, okay. So now in introduction, necrosis of the pulmonary tissue and formation of cavities containing necrotic debris or fluid caused by microbial infection is basically a long abscess. So why is it important? Because failure to recognize and treat long abscess is associated with poor clinical outcome. Sometimes it can lead to dangerous sepsis and may even cause death. The best part of treating long abscess is its highly rewarding treatment. So in 90 to 95% of the cases, long abscess are rarely curable with appropriate antibiotics. What basically cause long abscess? So to cause an abscess, you need to have a microorganisms that is specific to that tissue. So what are the microorganisms that cause long abscess? These are usually the commensals or the bacteria that are found in your oral cavity. So in different mechanisms, if your oral cavity commensals or microorganisms get access to your bronchi and then to the lung parenchyma, you'll have high chance of having long abscess. How to divide long abscess? According to the duration, acute long abscess is less than 6 weeks. Chronic long abscess is defined as an abscess that is more than 6 weeks. By etiology, primary long abscess are usually in patients who are prone for aspirations. and the patients who are in good health. But in secondary lung abscess, there are some coexisting systemic or local comorbidities such as bronchial obstruction secondary to tumor or copious secretions, coexisting lung disease like any patients who have chronic long-standing anatomical deformities like fibrosis, cavitations. Sometimes in hematological disseminations, the bacteria can get access to the capillaries and to the lung parenchyma causing lung abscess. Sometimes there can be direct spreading of infections like splenic rupture or hepatic abscess or intra-abdominal infections, or in patients who are in a state of immunosuppression. So what are the causes that cause aspiration of oropharyngeal secretions, which is usually the most common cause of lung abscess? That is because of aspiration of oropharyngeal secretions, because there you have a commensal organisms in your oral cavity and in your dentures. So in conditions such as dental or periodontal infections, paranasal sinusitis, any disturbances in a state of consciousness, like in subconscious patients who who cannot clear their secretions, who have poor orodental hygiene, these a depressed level of conscious patients are prone for are always prone for having lung abscess because they can't clear their secretions. They usually have very poor orodental hygiene. In gastroesophageal reflux disease, you can have similar cause. Esophageal dysmotility, frequent vomiting, and intubated patients who are in prolonged mechanical ventilators, patients who are intubated and are on tracheostomy. Tracheostomy are the tubes that are directly entered through your trachea externally. In patients with cerebrovascular disease like stroke or bulbar palsy or any quadriplegic patients, these all patients have a very poor tendency to clear their secretions, oropharyngeal secretions, and they are prone for lung abscess. Similarly, alcoholism, they have similar tendency to aspirate their oral contents. Hematological disseminations, like as I told, abdominal sepsis, infective endocarditis, intravenous drug abuse, infected cannula or central venous catheter, septic thromboembolisms are very rare but important causes of lung abscess. Coexisting lung disease like bronchiectasis, cystic fibrosis, emphysema, bronchial obstruction by tumor, and foreign body or lung disease or anatomical disability can always bacteria, and they have their organisms inside their lungs. So 90% of usually polymicrobial bacteria. There are anaerobic bacteria. The most common are anaerobic bacteria that are commensals of the oral cavities. These are Streptococcus microaerophilic, Streptococcus bacteroides, Bacillus, Fusobacterium, Necrophorum, or other gram-positive anaerobic organisms. Similarly, some aerobic bacteria like Staph aureus, including MRSA, Strep pyogenes, Pneumonia, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. These are the aerobic bacteria that can cause community-acquired pneumonia. Other common causes are nocardias, Mycobacterium, Aspergillosis, Rhodococcus. Sometimes in very rare causes like impaired host defenses mechanisms, as in granulocytopenia. You can have other aerobic bacteria like Staph aureus fungi or Aspergillus microorganisms. Infrequently, the following infectious etiologies of pneumonia may progress to parenchymal necrosis and lung abscess formation. So that means the pneumonia can itself progress to lung abscess if these are untreated. And what are the organisms causing that mechanisms? These are Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Klebsiella, Staph aureus, Streptococcus, nocardia, actinomyces, and fungal infections. Infectious complications of pre-existing bulla and long cysts can harbor these microorganisms and cause lung abscess. What are the common sites of lung abscess? In 75% of the cases, you have lung abscess in the posterior segment of right upper lobe or in the apical segment of lower lobe of both lungs. That is more common in the right. Lateral part of the posterior segment of right upper lobe are also common, and in alcoholic persons, you can have axillary soft segments of middle lobe, especially because of vomiting and aspiration in prone position. So if there is connection with bronchus, necrotic debris will empty the abscess cavity and radiological sign of air fluid level will occur. Clinical features. So Abscess is basically a collection of pus. So whenever there is a pus in your body, you will have systemic inflammatory response, and you have fever. Typical name of the fever is pent-up fever. So you can have high-grade fever, you can have cough, night sweats, dyspnea, weight loss, fatigue, chest pain, and sometimes anemia. Very typically, you have a very false smelling sputum. The reason you know because it contains a lot of anaerobic bacteria, and in sputums are basically a content of mucus along with pus. So that's why you have a very false smelling sputum. At the beginning, the cough is usually non-productive, but at the ashes get communicated with the bronchus, there is productive cough. Sometimes you can have hemoptysis, clubbing, wet loss, and few people can be asymptomatic. In fact, lung abscess is one of the common cause of acute clubbing. So if we have a very false smelling sputum, if we have a typical night sweats, cough, etc., and you have an acute clubbing that has developed over days to weeks, it's high likely that this patient will be having lung abscess. So differential diagnosis, you can have a scattering bronchial carcinoma, tuberculosis, localized pleural empyema, or infection emphysema bulla, and other cavitary lung lesions like pneumoconiosis, a hamartoma, or a hydatid cyst, vaginous granulomatosis, etc. So how do you investigate a case of lung abscess? So you think a patient came to you, says, "Doctor, I'm having fever for last 7 days. My sputum is very yellowish. I think there is a pus-like substance in my sputum. There is a very foul-smelling sputum. There is a very foul-smelling odor of my breath. Occasionally, I also notice there is blood in my sputum. I'm started losing my weight. Then you think that there is some inflammation going on your lungs. So first thing you'll do is you look for inflammatory markers. So what are the inflammatory markers? These are total count and differential count, where you expect the total count to be increased. There can be neutrophilia. In peripheral blood smear, you can have a toxic granules with band cells or shift to left. You can have raised CRPs, raised ESR, raised procalcitonin level. So these are the basic inflammatory markers. Sputum culture in most of the time is not useful because very rarely we grow anaerobic organisms in our sputum culture. So most of the time, sputum culture are usually negative. Until now, unless you specifically order sputum for anaerobic culture, you won't usually get positive sputum culture results. So don't get misguided with negative sputum culture report, especially in case of lung abscess. Chest X-ray is probably the first clue you will get for lung abscess. What you will find is you'll find an irregularly shaped cavity with an air fluid level. So remember this term, there will be a cavity with an air fluid level. What is air fluid level? I'll come to the next slide. So you can see in this chest X-ray in the right middle zone, you can see a well-defined cavitating lung lesion with our air fluid level. See, you can see a horizontal demarcation of two densities. So this is air, and here this is pus. So this is defined as an air fluid level. Okay. Similarly, here you can see another air fluid level. And sometimes you can get confused with localized empyema. This is a pleural effusion with localized empyema. So don't get confused with this lung abscess. So this is the typical of lung abscess. The next thing you can do is blood culture. Blood culture, you can find microorganisms, typical microorganisms, especially if the cause is hematogenous dissemination. Otherwise, you will find a sterile blood culture. If pleural fluid empyema is suspected, then you have to drain the pleural fluid and send for the investigations. You can also get a tracheal aspirate when you cannot get the sputum culture or sputum sample. You have to do a bronchoscopy and do the tracheal aspirate or the bronchial aspirate. CT-guided transthoracic neural aspirate is rarely done because it's an invasive procedure. But if you cannot treat the patients with conventional antibiotics, you may need to do a CT-guided transthoracic needle aspiration of that lesion. Fiber optic bronchoscopy has eased our job very much by an ease of access of this bronchoscopic instrument to the lung cavity, and you can just drain the pus and send to the culture. Bronchoalveolar lavage with quantitative culture is another modality of investigation. So CT scan can be done if you are confused with a chest X-ray. Even in CT scan, you can also find this a typical air fluid level. So this patient is lying supine. So there is a fluid. Okay, there is a pus or fluid in the dependent portion of left hemithorax. with a well-defined cavity, and you can find an air. So this is the typical of lung abscess. So in another chest CT film, we can find a similar air fluid level with well-defined lung with a lot of necrotic tissues. You can see these blackish tissues in a background of whitish hyperdense lesion, hyperdense shadow. So this is a necrotic tissue with a definitive air fluid level. This is not a long parenchyma. See, this is long parenchyma. This grays are long parenchyma, but this blackish are not long parenchyma. These are entirely an air fluid cavity. So this entire is a cavity with a pus with a lot of necrosis going on here. So this is an air fluid level. So whenever you find an air fluid level with a well-defined cavity, this is lung abscess. As I told, there are a few other differential diagnoses of lung cavity. One is infected bulla. So what happens? Your bulla can be infected. Your bulla can have sometimes if you are dealing with a patient with a COPD with emphysema, you can find a bulla. And bulla can be infected. But how to differentiate infected bulla with lung abscess? Bulla are very thin walled, and you don't often find a necrotic contents inside the cavity. But in cavity, you'll find this a thick walled. So you can see a very thick walled. Bulla are not thick walled. So bronchoscopy can be done. This is not important for you, so I'll just skip that. So how to treat a patient with lung abscess? You find a patient with typical symptoms of signs and symptoms of lung abscess, what you find in examination in lung abscess? Patient will be very ill-looking and toxic. Okay, there will be a patient will be febrile. There will be increased rate of respiration. There will be tachycardic. If the infection is very severe, then blood pressure can be low. When you examine the patient on bedside, you'll find a very foul-smelling sputum on the sputum mug. On chest examination, there will be a restrictive movement of the chest on the site of the lung abscess, and you will find a cavernous type of breath sound, that is the bronchial breath sound in the lung cavity. You send the investigation, you find a typical air fluid level, and now you confirm that this is a lung abscess. Now, how to treat? The best treatment for lung abscess is injectable clindamycin that is given in a dose of 600 mg IV Q8 hourly. If the patient has clinically improved, patient is no longer febrile, patient can feed himself, or there is no signs of systemic inflammation, then you can just switch that clindamycin IV to oral clindamycin in a dose of 300 mg every 6 hourly. As I told, lung abscess can be caused by polymicrobial infection. That's not only the anaerobic bacteria, but also the aerobic bacteria that will be causing lung abscess. So most of the time, you also have to add second or third generation cephalosporins. Ampicillin and sulbactam combinations or piperacillin tazobactam combinations, meropenem can also be given if clindamycin is not available, because these group of drugs have a high anti-anaerobic activities as well. Other modalities of treatments can be moxifloxacin, which can be as effective as ampicillin sulbactam, but moxifloxacin monotherapy is not a treatment for lung abscess. You have to give one anti-anaerobic antimicrobials like clindamycin or piperacillin tazobactam or meropenem. Okay, so if you consider actinomyces, if you consider nocardia, if you consider fungal species, especially in immunocompromised patients like HIV or those who are in chronic immunosuppressant states, leukemia, lymphoma, chronic untreated diabetic patients, cancer patients, you have to think in the line of these microorganisms as well. And how to treat? You treat with high dose of penicillin. Nocardiasis can be treated by 6 to 12 months of trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole treatment. So in hospitalized patients who have aspirated and develop a lung abscess, you should always cover Staph aureus, Pseudomonas or Enterobacter, because these are very common in hospital-acquired infections. Methicillin raised in Staph aureus is very common in a hospital, so you have to cover that organism by vancomycin, linezolid, or ceftaroline. So generally, after giving a proper antibiotics, patients slowly start improving in 4 to 7 days. So how long do you treat? How long do you give the antibiotics? So therapy is continued until the imaging demonstrates that the lung abscess has cleared or regressed to a small scar. So you do a serial chest X-ray. So after proper antibiotics, that lesions gradually start being fade away. And once you find that the lung abscess has cleared or that abscess has regressed to a small scar, okay, or linear opacities, then that's when you think that the lung abscess has completely disappeared and you stop antibiotics. Until then, you have to give oral clindamycin. Treatment usually lasts for 4 to 6 weeks. So cavity closure usually takes median time of 4 weeks, but it may take months. Resolution of surrounding infiltrates requires at least 8 weeks. The chest X-ray appearance may worsen during the first week of treatment, and the radiological improvement may lag behind the clinical resolutions because the clearance of pus and necrosis will take time. There are few indications of surgery. If antibiotic is not responding, then you have to consider surgery. And there are few indications. These are massive hemoptysis. When there is a refractory to medical treatment, you have given antibiotics for more than 12 weeks, but there is no clinical and radiological improvement, then you have to go for surgical development, or you have to put a chest tube. Or if there is a very large cavity, more than 6 centimeter in the diameter, with a very thick wall, these large cavity are uh, usually escape the antibiotics penetration. So you need to do surgery just to remove the cavity. If there is a lung cavity that is complicated by malignancy, if there is an empyema, empyema is an infected pleural fluid. There is a pus in the pleural fluid. If there is chronicity, and if there is recurrence, or if there is any remaining residual cavity, then these are the indications of surgery. So you may remember 2 or 3 indications of surgery in lung abscess. Next thing is you can do a chest tube drainage. Debridement and removal of lung abscess is usually the last resort. First, you try with chest tube drainage. Chest tube drainage are done for these indications like large cavity, or there is an empyema, or there is a complicated by malignancy. So what are the surgical procedures you can do for lung abscess? These are lobectomy. You can remove the entire lobe. You can do a pneumonectomy. You can remove the entire lung. The survival rates after lung resection range from 89 to 95%. So it's not a very high risk procedure. Chest tube drainage. So it's a definitive therapy in about 84% of the patients. The complication rate is 16% and mortality is just 4%. So how do you do a chest tube drainage? Chest tube drainage is done through a Seldinger procedure. Remember, the name is not a Seldinger procedure. You can go and just watch a video of Seldinger procedure. There is a specific set of instrument, and you can insert a chest tube. The complications can be necrotic debris can be spill out, causing the pneumothorax, empyema, or bronchopleural fistula, or sometimes it can cause bleeding. Surgical resections are therapy of choice in about 10% of the patients, and the indications, as I told, these are the massive hemoptysis, or bronchopleural fistula, or rupture of abscess, or chronicity. Another very important thing that we should never forget is appropriate chest physiotherapy. So, patient with a very large lung abscess should be placed in the lateral decubitation with the abscess side down. It may help in the clearance of the mucopurulent secretions and necrotic contents. So, patient can easily take these pus-like things out in the sputum, so that will thus help in shrinking the size of lung abscess, and that will help in better penetration of the antibiotics. But how much chest physiotherapy help in treatment of lung abscess? The database are not available, and is a debatable indications. So this is all about a very simple topic, albeit very important topic. So how do you conclude lung abscess? Diagnosis is usually based on clinical and radiological features. You have to have a radiological confirmation of lung abscess. You should always consider lung abscess for any patients who presents with acute febrile illness with features of low respiratory infections in a high risk group. What are the high risk group? Those patients who cannot clear their oral secretions, who are prone for aspirations. And these patients are alcoholic patients. These patients are intubated patients. These patients are have a poor sensorium. These patients are dementia, are people having dementia. These patients are having high rates of gastroesophageal reflux. Okay, these are the patients who are high risk. So any high risk patient, if you find a typical signs and symptoms of lower respiratory tract infection, you should always try to exclude lung abscess. So treatment is always empiric. So most of the time you may not be able to get the typical sputum microbacteria, microorganisms. So treatment is always empiric by giving the IV clindamycin for a few days until there is a clinical improvement, along with second order salts and cephalosporin to cover other aerobic organisms. And once the patient starts improving, you can just switch to oral clindamycins until there is a radiological signs of recovery. What are the radiological signs of recovery? If there is an absolute resolution, if there is an abscess disappearance, or if there is a formation of scar. So treatment response and duration is guided clinically and by chest radiograph. Okay, this is all about the lung abscess. So I've tried to make it as simple as possible for your level of understanding. So if you have any confusion, then you can just drop your questions in the chat box, or you can directly ask me the questions. Any questions? Key questions are? Eva, any questions are?
No, sir.
Eva, can you please just summarize what I've told in like 4 or 5 points?
Yes, sir. Lung abscess is basically a necrosis of the pulmonary TB and formation of cavities.
Pulmonary TB? It's not pulmonary TB.
Pulmonary tissue and formation of the cavities, which contain the necrotic debris and fluid. It is caused by various of microorganisms, generally the commensals which are found in the oral cavity. According to the duration, the lung abscess is divided into acute and chronic. Acute is less than 6 weeks duration and chronic is greater than 6 weeks. And by etiology, we have classified it into primary and secondary, and also there are various conditions and risk factors which predispose to the lung abscess, as you have already described previously before I was talking. And the patient generally, and various polymicrobial bacteria are responsible for causing lung abscess. From the anaerobic to aerobic bacteria. Aerobic bacteria include Staph aureus, MRSA, also Nocardia, and impaired host defenses also predisposed to the and impaired host response also predisposed to the lung abscess. Also, it is also the risk factors are aspiration of the oropharyngeal secretions, dental procedures, GERD, esophageal dysmotility, and in the patient with tracheostomy, Barber palsy, and in alcoholics. The segment which is involved is in 75% of the patient. It is posterior segment of the right upper lobe and apical segment of the lower lobe of both lungs. The patient present with pent-up fever, which is pent-up fever with and other signs of lung abscess like cough, night sweat, dyspnea, weight loss, and the most predominant finding is foul-smelling sputum as it contains mucus and pus. Cough is also present. Also, there is acute clubbing, weight loss, and fever. So, if the patient comes with these features, it should raise the suspicion of lung abscess. The investigation we do is...
Okay, wait. Okay, I'll ask some other student. Okay, can anyone tell me the investigation?